You're watching Meet the Movie Press. Coming up, we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad, Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, and a Splash remake starring Channing Tatum as a merman.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, Simon.
Hey, it's nice to be back. I missed you.
The boys are back in town.
They are.
Welcome to Meet the Movie Press, everybody. I am your host, Jeff Sneider, senior film reporter at Mashable. It feels
where?
good to say that. Feels good.
Oh.
And this is Simon.
Hey, hello. People were asking where I was the last couple of weeks.
Where have you been?
I was at Comic Con.
Ooh.
For the first one, and then I was doing a top secret assignment last Friday.
Very
that
cool.
I can't talk about.
Do you know when we'll be able to hear about it?
You'll be able to hear about it probably end of the year, early next year.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was just an interview, but I can't say who it was or where it was.
Okay.
Or the fact that I did it, so that just didn't happen.
Fair enough.
Yeah. But it's nice to be back. Hi.
Yes, good to see you.
You can find me on Twitter, of course, at ShowbizSimon, Instagram, at ShowbizSimon, and on Facebook, this is Simon Thompson.
Oh, my God.
I know.
That's not as cool as Facebook.com/Spielberg.
That was taken.
Yeah, I took it.
And also, how disappointed would people be
when they find out
it's you or me? They go like, oh, great.
They're looking for Steven.
That's
Jeff guy. Anyways,
yeah.
We have so much to talk about. We got to get right to it. We are going to be taking calls today.
Yeah.
That number is 424-253-0504. But that's going to be later in the show.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
It's time to have
the talk.
A conversation.
Yeah. Shall we just say this conversation is going to involve spoilers?
Yes. Okay. Spoiler warning right at the top. If you haven't seen Suicide Squad yet, watch this show later. Okay? Because we are going to be getting into the nitty gritty.
But do watch
it. It ain't pretty.
Yeah.
Just
well, mine's.
That's right. No. This is actually going to be a bit of a. Simon liked the movie.
I enjoyed it.
You enjoyed
it.
I did not. So it's going to be pretty interesting. Let's go for it. Suicide Squad. Why did you enjoy it? How did you enjoy it?
It's a really messy film. It's all over the place. The chemistry in many parts of the movie for me was lacking. A big problem was the fact that I thought Cara Delevingne, and you did a review for Mashable on this, and I did one for Forbes, which we can post later. But a big problem for me was Cara Delevingne, because she just, for me, she was not a strong villain. She wasn't strong in human form, and then when she became the celestial form, it was kind of, I think I described it as Kate Bush doing emo dress up crossed with The Ring.
Wow, that's much better than any way I could have put it.
Thank you.
The only thing I would call it is embarrassing.
That was my subtext. It just wasn't very good. She wasn't very strong. She looked like someone strung out on PCP.
She made me terrified for poor Valerian next summer. My God,
it was not.
It was just fundamentally misconceived, the villain. I mean, this movie is broken at its core.
This has been a summer of weak villains, though, I think, in many films. And I just think, for me, there were... I love the idea of the ensemble cast Suicide Squad, but it didn't feel for me that they kind of knew what to do with everybody once they had the team assembled. It just felt that it was a little bit moving from, like spinning plates. You know, you see the main plates are in the middle and you're spinning them around, and then you know the two plates on the end. You need to keep them up, but you just need to give them a little spin, but give the main spin here. And then you kind of take your eye off the ball and do something else. It just felt a little bit flitty for me. So a lot of the characters who I think could have offered more and really sort of, up the level with everybody, make everybody worth being on screen. They were great characters, just not handled very well. And that just didn't...
So did you like this more or less than Batman vs. Superman?
I enjoyed it more than Batman. I found Batman, dull. And both have bad third acts. Mm-hmm. The third act here I thought was just... Considering how spectacular it was, I found it ridiculously mundane. Very basic.
I've been going back and forth all week, and I think it's worse. I think it's worse than Batman vs. Superman.
See, but I enjoy this more because I thought I don't mean colourful as in there are lots of bright colours in the movie because there is a lot of colour in the movie. It just for me felt, there was a levity and certain aspects about it, certain set pieces, certain way characters were drawn. I I loved the scenes with Margot Robbie and Jared Leto. The scene in the club.
I actually liked them as well.
I think they worked really well together. And it's when you had really strong parts like that. I mean, the helicopter heist with Jared Leto firing onto the roof.
That was cool.
That was great. I really like that. But then everything else, when you're trying to match that, it just didn't. It just kind of showed the flaws even more.
One review I read pointed this out, and it was a problem I had with the film too. When you see the domesticated Harley Quinn and Joker, and Joker doesn't have his makeup on, he looks like a normal guy. That's her fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah.
That doesn't go with the character.
No, I thought exactly the same thing.
And there were so many examples of that where the behavior made no sense in terms of who the character was. I thought. Did you think that the movie was too dark or too light? Like, did it need to be more light and fun and jokey, or did you want it darker?
The problem for me, I mean, I think it couldn't decide what it wanted to be, so it was very difficult for audiences to know what it wanted to be, because there were moments of great levity, and I thought the levity, those moments were great. But I think when it wanted to be really dark, it just didn't sit right. It was spasmodic and slightly sporadic, and because it's very difficult to have total faith in a film when the film doesn't really have faith in itself. And I think this is something that was touched on in an article with the Hollywood Reporter this week. It's when you have, unfortunately, films by committee, you end up with something that's not really enough of anything to be enough to a lot of people. And there are going to be people who will absolutely love this movie, and there are going to be people who, as we've seen, do absolutely hate this movie. But I think for me, I mean, I thought the foot soldiers of the Enchantress.
What the fuck was that?
Fucking terrible.
How is that like?
It was like 1970s Doctor Who.
How do you get away with that?
It was terrible. I mean, I just, in carrying them out, in the concept and delivery.
Exactly. It's not just the execution. It would be one thing if it was the execution. It's the concept as well. How does nobody flag this stuff at any stage in the process? And that's why, I called this movie the most disappointing movie of the summer, and possibly the most disappointing movie I've ever seen. That's because the marketing was so good. Now, the marketing was all over the place as well.
Yeah.
The first trailer with that Bee Gees cover, I Started a Joke, is much different than the Bohemian Rhapsody trailer that followed it. I wanted a movie closer to the first one.
Yeah.
I wanted dark. And it's, I was talking to someone at Warner Brothers this week, and I was telling them that, and they were like, wait, what? They wanted it lighter. They wanted more fun. And you hear that, and you see that in a lot of the reviews, how it's not fun. I didn't need fun. I wanted something different. I wanted a crime movie.
Yeah.
And this could have been the heat of comic book movies, and they blew it.
And I touched on this in my review for Forbes, because we did start out. You talk about the marketing. It did start out being sold as something that was darker, heavier, more mature, more serious. And this is before Deadpool, so this is not a coming off the back of Deadpool thing that a lot of people are saying it is. This was out last summer, so it did start to be dark. Everyone's going, "Ooh, this is going to be great. This is really going to be, the meat and potatoes DC movie that we really want." Meat and potatoes. We could see, and I predicted, if you talked about this on the show before, I could see as the marketing changed, it kind of became a Hello Kitty who's gone off their meds.
Exactly. It became the Jared Leto show.
Yeah, it became a schizophrenic.
Which makes no sense.
Well, because
he's barely in the movie. Guys, the Joker is barely in this movie.
But then there's 10 minutes. David Ayer said this week. He's about 15 minutes in total. There's another 10 minutes.
So what?
It's
not there.
No, but if he's the best fucking thing in the film, put those 10 fucking minutes in.
Sure. Why?
Because then you've got 10 minutes of better movie. You can lose 10 minutes.
It's poorly made. Like, this is what I'm talking about. I don't care what's on the cutting room floor. I care what is up on the screen. And if it's not there, I don't know how I'm supposed to forget, like it or give him credit for it.
Well, I think it could have been improved by the fact that, I loved a lot of the characters in Suicide Squad. I thought Harley Quinn was great. There were things about her that I was like, okay, me. She didn't really sort of contribute a lot.
Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
She was a nicely drawn with Harley Quinn as well. I think that she's a fun character. And I like Margot Robbie in general.
I thought she was great.
I thought she was fine. Okay. I didn't think she was great. I thought it's like I've told people, you're going to go out on Halloween this year, and especially
Comic-Con
in Los Angeles,
rammed to the
you're going to see
tits with Harley Quinns.
10 beautiful Harley Quinns, right? And they're not going to be that much different than what she gave us in the movie.
Yeah.
I wanted her to really be let loose, to really get a chance to act crazy.
But
And
again,
there
that's
isn't
difficult
much
to
of
do
that.
in a PG-13. If we got this darker movie, you would have
That
seen...
is the problem right there, is that this whole film feels hamstrung
Restrained.
by its rating.
Yeah. But, I mean...
It was ridiculous. What is the Incubus? That character, that was out of Green Lantern. That is out of Spawn. That is fucking terrible.
It just did not fit with everything else.
How does a creative executive over there, someone in the pipeline, not say something and be like, guys, this isn't working?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Let's talk about some of the characters. Okay, because I really like Killer Croc, but I
liked Killer Croc too.
I wondered for half the movie
I
if
like
he was...
the characters. The characters are the strength.
Yeah. I wondered if he was going to say anything, and then he said like 3 words, and then he eventually had some dialogue, and I'm like,
I like her.
yeah, but it's like,
Which is hard to hear him, by the way.
yeah, but then they kind of they give him more to do later on, but it's kind of like it's stuck when it's getting really
He was
busy
very
and messy.
well designed. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
the movie is called fucking Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Other than the Slipknot death at the beginning,
Fuck. Why did they put Slipknot
which
in
was
it?
I don't want to use that word, which was
Pointless.
fucking just terrible.
It was a waste.
I wanted Killer Croc to get killed in the explosion that he set up underground.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Like that was a suicide mission. How
Yeah.
does anybody survive this blast?
Yeah. But also the fact that they're a Suicide Squad who are some of the baddest asses that are possibly available. Okay, and they don't bond with anybody. They're loners, and then they hardly do anything. And they're like, "Oh, we're family now." And I'm like, that. They didn't appear to do or be put in any situations where they'd suddenly gone from I don't give a fuck about anybody else to suddenly I'll protect you with my life. There wasn't anything to build that chemistry, to build that relationship, or to even kind of warrant that for me. And I was like, I'm just going to kind of put that in the back.
Did you have a problem with the BET line at the end? People did. I mean, in the moment, it didn't bother me.
I thought it was
but
quite random.
Yeah,
It was like the whiskey bottle in Star Trek Beyond.
Don't forget,
I was just a bit
I'm black.
like, yeah. I just find it I mean, you can pick
Okay,
he's never going to ask for lifetime.
Deadshot
You
was
know?
good.
Yeah.
I liked Deadshot. I thought Will Smith. But
again,
he's
as
just always good. He's just the best actor there.
I thought he was good, but I've seen him be a badass, and I mentioned this in my Forbes review, in other films, and more convincing as a badass. And he had this thing about being a father figure. I've seen him give performances more as a father figure in a handful of movies that he's done than I believed his I'm doing it for my kid thing in this movie. And I thought, even just throwing a bit more of good drama Will Smith at that, good acting Will Smith, mixing that with a bit of badass Will Smith, would have really, again, lifted this film, and I think some people would have been more forgiving to it.
Now, at the end, he ends up seeing his daughter.
He does, yeah.
And they end up doing math homework.
Yeah.
Like, that is how you're going to spend this time with your daughter, is doing math homework? I felt like, wouldn't you see them in
Go to
the
the zoo?
park? Yeah, something, I don't know.
Go and catch a movie?
So, yeah, okay, I liked El Diablo.
Yeah. But again...
That he was, a character with an arc, at least, or he changed a little.
But the arc, for me, it went arc... Whoa, fuck! And I was kind of like, you've got this guy that's been harnessing his powers, and you've seen what these amazing things that he can do. And then, this is a spoiler, in the final fight, he transforms into this, like, celestial being.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, that's Green Lantern territory for me. That's kind of like, where the fuck
I
did that
liked when
come
he was
from?
more human and he had made a mistake and he felt remorse. He was actually a criminal who felt shame about what he had done, and he was reconciling with that.
It just didn't sit right
just,
for me.
Katana barely,
Wasted.
Yeah.
Wasted.
Rick Flag, I thought he was fine. Fine. Left no impression.
Jai Courtney.
Okay,
Do you see, I am not a big fan of his work. Most of his work I can take or leave, and some of it I find quite bad.
Yep.
I really enjoyed him as Boomerang. in this. I did. But I think, again, it's kind of comparing it to other characters. I think if it was a stronger film, he might not have come across as strongly. But I think because there's so many underdrawn or underused characters, because he was given a little bit of wiggle room and a chance to show a personality.
But what is with that boomerang that he makes where he leaves and then he's right back? Is it just a change of heart? Like, you can see the studio fingerprints or, the editing room battles all over this movie. There are so many weird cuts. So the introductions at the beginning where each character gets like a title card. Yeah. There's interesting stuff written on there, like jokes and stuff. It flies by so quickly you can't even appreciate it. Why make the card? If someone has to press pause to see it.
But there's a lot of wasted talent in this movie. I mean, right from some of the guys in Suicide Squad, even through to things like Common. I mean, when I saw Common's name, I totally forgot he was in the movie. Scott Eastwood.
What?
I'm like, there was such a hoo-ha made about him being in the movie, and I was like, who the fuck was Scott Eastwood?
I love that they gave him a name, like he's like Officer GQ Edwards or some bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it was superfluous.
He's armed guard number 3.
Yeah. I mean,
it was a weird role for a rising star like Scott Eastwood to take on, but I guess him and Ayer obviously have a history.
But I did enjoy the movie.
Viola Davis, I liked her.
Yeah,
but inconsistent.
Yeah, and
disappears for the third act.
Yeah, I thought she could have been. I saw where it was going. I would have liked her to go a bit harder. And she's a shit in the movie, but I would have liked to have gone bag of shit rather than big turd shit.
Can I give you what I had envisioned? My 30-second elevator pitch for this. I mean, to me, Suicide Squad opens with Amanda Waller in a shootout, okay? And she's watching with the Joker. Yeah. And she's watching her colleagues get taken out left and right. She's calling in reinforcements. Joker has planned for every contingency. He's outmined her. And she realizes this guy's not just a hood. Yeah. He is a criminal fucking mastermind. Yep. And that's when she goes and gets the Suicide Squad. There was nothing about how her people in the movie were having, they had to turn to the Suicide Squad there as the last resort. There was nothing about her struggle to deal with the Joker. And then it becomes a Heat movie, essentially, with she goes to De Niro's character with Val Kilmer and Danny Trejo and Tom Sizemore and says, we need you to take down the Joker. And I don't know why the Joker wasn't the villain of this movie. Yeah. His whole story in this movie, Simon, I'm sure you would agree, is superfluous to what is actually what the plot is.
Yeah, really. I mean, because through the movie, Harlequin keeps getting messages from the Joker.
Yeah, he's a big texter,
and you're just kind of like, yeah, he's big on SMS. He even got his own emoji. But it's kind of like, okay, fine, where's this going? Oh, he's just going to grab her. Why is he grabbing her? Oh, okay, that doesn't make any sense. It was kind of considering how weak the villain was. It would have been even better to have some sort of subtext for why he wanted to overpower the Enchantress, to bring him into that.
Yeah, sure.
Rather than do what they did with him in the movie.
I just thought it was a
which
mess.
Wasn't believable.
Let's talk about some of the other sort of side things here. We're still talking about Squad. Yeah. So the box office last night.
So it's 20.5 million.
Pretty fucking good.
Which is big, yeah. So the closest in August has been Guardians, which was 11.2 million.
Wow.
So this is almost double that.
Do you think that the reviews almost helped I have to see this movie? Like, I have to see if the critics are crazy on this? Or...
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a lot of people that were always intending to go and see this first night.
Of course.
I think there's a lot of people who, because of the negativity, there will be the curiosity, people going like, how bad is it? And people who were like, okay, I'm on the fence, I want to make up my own mind, because like things like Batman versus Superman, people are going to be talking about it, I want to have my own opinion. I think this is a movie that is going to continue to draw people in, and it was never going to be a flop. Never going to be a flop.
So a lot of people challenge me on my review, which is fair. Yeah, and I have to start getting used to that and grow a thick skin. And they were like, well, I'm still going to see the movie and I'm going to make up my mind. And those people came back to me last night after seeing the 7:00 show or whatever, and they were like, wow, you were right. Yeah. So are the fans, are they going to like this movie either, or is word of mouth essentially going to kill this by Saturday afternoon?
No, I don't think it'll kill it, because I think there'll be enough people, who will love it because they genuinely love it, and love it because fuck you, I'm going to love this, just to shove it in your face. That's going to happen, and that's fine because we can't control that. But I think the problem will be with the fact that once word gets out, those people that were in the bottom third who would maybe see it, we maybe won't see it, let's wait for it. I think they just won't go, and I think we'll get the audience returning for the second and possibly third viewing, the people who really like it. But I can see the drop.
I think it's going to lose that repeat business. I think it's going to suffer a similar drop to Batman vs. Superman.
I think it's going to sustain the repeat viewing, but I think everything else to bump that up is not going to be there after sort of week 2, week 3. I think when Pete's Dragon comes in, that's going to affect perhaps more than people would have anticipated because they're very different films.
I think Sausage Party is going to be a big hit. I don't know what that is tracking at.
Yeah, I think it is.
But I think a lot of people think that looks
hilarious.
hilarious.
I think we're going to see quite... Someone said to me this week, I think Suicide Squad is going to be number 1 at the box office for the month. And I'm like, it's not going to be. I think it's going to be number 1 this week, possibly number 1 next week, but it's going to have to fucking fight for it.
For what? Against what?
And anything else that's coming out this month. And I'm like, that's not going to happen.
It's going to be number 1 at the box office.
It's going to be number 1 this weekend.
It's going to be number 1 at the box office this month.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I think it's going to have 2, maybe 3 weeks and then drop. I would think that 3 weeks.
You're talking about for the entire month?
Yeah.
Oh no. No.
So like this weekend, next weekend,
the most successful movie.
No. I'm talking as in every weekend through the month of August. This is going to be number 1, and I'm like, that's not. I can see it being number 1 this week, maybe number 1 next week, but it's going to have to fight for it against Pete's Dragon.
I think Sausage Party is going to open bigger than Pete's Dragon.
Well, I mean, we'll see.
I could be crazy.
But,
I don't know.
I either way, whichever one it is, I don't think we're going to see Suicide Squad holding on to the top spot for more than
all right, fair
2
enough.
weeks.
Do you think this movie's going to open to 140 as projections indicated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think certainly around that mark. But obviously, general take is going to be affected because it's looking like it's not going to be released in China. Which, as everybody was pointing out with Ghostbusters, that's going to affect...
That was a big story yesterday.
And it's turned movies like Warcraft around this year because the Chinese market's been huge for that. A couple of other movies as well this year. Ghostbusters has suffered badly from not being, released in China. If this doesn't get released in China either, it's going to be an issue. And I think we're going to see some piracy issues around that because there will be an audience that wants to see it.
Oh, they've already
so they'll just
started,
download it. It's bad and it's illegal and it should not be done, but people do it.
Yes.
So, and also I think the Rotten Tomatoes petition, let's just touch on that this week.
So I am there right now. I'm on Rotten Tomatoes. I just refreshed the page. Every single time I have gone to the Suicide Squad Rotten Tomatoes page, the number has gone down. It is now at 26.
Yeah.
So fans started a Rotten Tomatoes petition. They want to shut down the site.
Right.
Because it doesn't treat DC movies fair.
Right.
This Rotten Tomatoes doesn't treat anything any way. It's the critics that put the numbers into Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
Okay. People...
By the fact that you fundamentally do not understand how Rotten Tomatoes works means you should probably not be allowed to use a keyboard.
Well, let me ask you this, though. The people who are allowed to use the keyboards, us, the media, why do we pick up on these stupid fucking petitions? Why do we turn these things into news? Is it because it's funny and it's stupid and it gets people talking?
Do you know why I cover it?
This doesn't deserve media attention.
No. I mean, I cover it because I think it's a story in the fact that it's a fucking weird story. But also, if you don't cover it, then you get accused of, you're just trying to hush this up. It's media conspiracy, blah, blah, blah. Or you're being paid by Marvel.
Conspiracy.
You're being paid by Marvel, that kind of thing. So I mentioned it. I've tweeted about it. I've featured it and stuff this week. But the fact that people... I understand that people will be upset by bad reviews. I totally get that, especially if it's a film that you really wanted to love. And I saw some amazing comments on Reddit this week. But the fact is that if critics don't like a movie and Rotten Tomatoes aggregates those, you end up with a general score, you end up with a general number. It's not Rotten Tomatoes' fault. I'm not defending Rotten Tomatoes. They've got nothing to do with the reviews, people liking it or disliking it. They're an aggregator. They're a bean counter. They're a number cruncher. That's what they do.
Okay. Let's talk about the actors' reactions to the reviews.
Yeah. It's tough for them.
It is tough, but this is just not the way to go about it. With Jay Hernandez telling critics to kiss your ass.
No.
I love that every time a movie gets shit reviews like this, it's the critics. We didn't make this for the critics. We made it for the fans. The critics aren't the biggest fucking fans that there are.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have Jay Hernandez saying, "Well, kiss my ass. Critics can kiss my ass."
And David said, fuck Marvel this week.
That was a jokey. That's just playing up the rivalry.
It wasn't helpful, though. I know why he did it, and it was jokey. It didn't help.
Yeah, I get that. But did you see a recent video of Kevin Smith putting a heckler in his place at Yoga Hosers?
I didn't see that. No.
So people think that I think Suicide Squad is the worst thing ever. No, it's the most disappointing because I had high expectations. Kevin Smith's movie Yoga Hosers is a way worse movie than Suicide Squad. But if you go online, you check out this video because I just saw it this morning of Kevin talking to a fan and saying, "Listen, you're entitled to your opinion, and sometimes you're going to like my movies and sometimes you're not." That is how you deal with bad reviews. To me, I actually, I commend Kevin Smith because he easily could have taken it to a bad place. The Suicide Squad people seemingly they were not braced for the possibility of a backlash. That's almost like there should be media training or something.
And I think Warner was surprised by the backlash because I think a lot of people at Warner really just genuinely believe that this was they continued with the
crazy.
where they continued with the line and with the feeling that this was still the summer movie.
Did anybody learn anything from Green Lantern? This movie screamed Green Lantern.
Evidently not.
It was,
But
jaw-dropper.
I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed many films this summer. And there were some films that I thought were considerably better than many of the films that have done really, really well that haven't done particularly well. The Shallows is a really good example. Should have done way better than it did. But it just I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I really didn't love it, but I had some fun with it. But it's got a lot of problems.
It's going to be divisive. People are going to love it because of the characters, because you're seeing something. You may not have seen before. To me, it was pretty formulaic.
Bottom line, they dropped the ball. They fucked it up.
I think it's been a lousy summer. I saw Star Trek last night. We're going to move on from Suicide Squad because we spent a lot of time on it.
I liked Star Wars. I loved Star Wars.
I saw Star Trek. I did not. It was
okay. I can see that. I know a lot of people that didn't.
It was probably one of the better tentpoles that I saw. Better than that, Suicide Squad and Batman and X-Men and Independence Day.
Yeah,
I definitely preferred Star Trek to those. But another movie where it's just nonsensical CGI. Just tell me a fucking story.
But
tell me a story.
But with Star Trek Beyond, I one thing for me that I loved about that was the fact that they actually gave the interaction between Kirk, Spock, and Bones more time to breathe, and it felt like the dynamic on the original show. It just felt like that came together. But then again, in other areas, it didn't work.
Yeah, we're going to talk about.
But I enjoyed it. I saw that twice.
We're talking about two more things before we take calls at about 9:45 in the booth. In about 4 minutes, let's start taking calls. The Splash remake.
Yep.
Channing Tatum is going to play the mermaid, Daryl Hannah's role, and Jillian Bell, who I really like, is going to take over Tom Hanks' role.
And one thing I like about this, I loved her in 22 Jump Street. I thought she was great. I like the idea of Channing Tatum as a merman. I think that can actually work really well. And I think it's interesting what they've done. There hasn't been outrage about this by the role swapping either, which is quite interesting, I think, this week. But yeah, Jillian Bell, I think, for me, is one of a number of new, I say new, but they're established, new women coming through and getting some decent roles in Hollywood. We've had a lot of the same people doing kind of the same roles for the last 10 years, and we're now starting to see a shift and there's some great female comedy talent out there.
It's so nice to see Jillian Bell.
Yeah, she's great.
And Anne Hathaway, no offense to her, because I actually really like the intern. Congrats to Jillian Bell. I really like this idea. I think a lot of people, a lot of women are going to be into Channing Tatum as a merman. Yeah. And he's got the right sense of humor. Like he's able to sort of poke fun at himself and take the piss out of himself. He's game for anything, I feel like, Channing Tatum, as evidenced in the Magic Mike movies, I think. So
But I loved him in House Caesar. I'm a big fan of Channing Tatum. I know initially he was just seen as kind of like getting roles for being Beefcake, because he's a handsome guy. But I think he's really proved himself as more than just an action hero and a topless guy.
I want to see him. I feel like he has a lot more action stuff in him, and I want to see him as just a brawler, like a real bruiser, the way he did in his first film, Guide to Recognizing Your Saints.
Yeah.
Anyways, Ron Howard's producing that. There's no director yet, though, right?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
So, Splash remake. I think it's not one of those iconic titles to me, so I'm fine with it being remade. no problem.
For me, I
updating
wouldn't
that
say
one.
it's an iconic title, but it's one of the films that I watched most growing up. But I'm totally cool with this. I love the idea.
And then before we start taking calls, let's
Yeah.
talk about the war movies that dropped trailers this
Yes.
week.
Couple of doozies.
Hacksaw Ridge from Mel Gibson and Dunkirk, the big guy from Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
It was so nice to have Christopher Nolan back yesterday. That trailer was really good. It's just a tease. You don't, any other director would have shown that explosion, that bomb dropping, essentially. And this is why he's one of our best filmmakers.
He's someone. Yes, he is. He's an
Teasers
amazing
are special,
filmmaker.
too.
I am not a fan of all of his movies. Some of his movies do wind me up. Some of the ways that he tells stories, but. One thing you are guaranteed to see with Christopher Nolan is a great story, beautifully executed.
I can't wait for it. It looked awesome. We have a call now waiting, so let's take the call. Let's dive right in. We're gonna get back to the trailers towards the end of the show. Sorry, didn't want to keep them hanging.
Thank you for calling Meet the Movie Press.
Hey.
Oh, no, wait, they hung up.
Oh.
Sorry. Last minute.
He'll be back.
Bruce Lee said in the chat, Warner Brothers made Fury Road last year. They make good movies. The problem is the DCEU. Awesome characters, bad film adaptations. Yeah, but Warner have made a lot of movies. I don't think it's necessarily the studio. I think it's the fact that when it comes to films made by committee, it goes horribly wrong. And that's not just a Warner Brothers thing. That's across all studios.
Right, and Christopher Nolan at least has earned the freedom where I don't think his movie is going to be made by committee.
No.
It was just so tasteful. That's the fucking difference between Christopher Nolan and some of these guys is simple taste.
Yeah. Well, subtlety and some sort of
restraint.
But
There was suspense there. It was
It's a funnel. Put it all in a funnel, and then break it down, and all the great stuff comes
We'll take
down.
those calls.
Hey.
Thank you for calling Meet the Movie Press. You're on with Jeff and Simon.
Hello.
Who's this?
Hello. Hey, guys. How's it going?
Good.
Josh from Ohio. How are you guys?
Yeah, good, Josh. How are you?
Great.
Cool.
I wanted to call and talk. I know you guys, talk about Suicide Squad, and probably enough for one lifetime. But do you guys think that WB is going to get the picture that they're making all these bad movies? If Suicide Squad does really well this weekend, which it sounds like it will, are they going to get the picture and start doing some work to fix these?
I think it's a great question, and I think the answer is no. I think it's because they're stacking these productions on top of each other, trying to meet arbitrary dates, and there's no time to course correct. If they had waited to see the reaction to this, and I think that they knew internally probably what was going on with Suicide Squad, and so that is why you saw the Justice League set visit.
Yep.
That's why they invited the press in to show them something a little bit. Again, I think that they were concerned that Suicide Squad was too dark, as the Hollywood Reporter sort of hinted at in its article. I think that they're going a little bit lighter with Justice League. That's what we saw in the teaser with Ezra Miller clowning around. And
both Ezra and Jason Momoa were at the London premiere this week.
Right. So that is sort of why they had the set visit. I think that they anticipated that we need to course correct, at least in terms of perception, after Suicide Squad opens. But I still wish that they had waited to put Justice League into production. Again, the movie that I think could possibly turn things around is Aquaman, just because I have a lot of faith in James Wan as a director.
Yeah. I think the thing is that these movies keep making money. And ultimately, if you can do what you want to do as a studio, and this is not just a Warner Brothers thing, if you can do what you want as a studio, and you know that regardless of whether the film is the best film that you can put out, or it's kind of there,
it's
or
the
not even there.
Transformers thing.
And you know that people are going to come out and they're going to put 20.5 million on the first day, and it's going to be a big weekend, 130, 140 million, and it doesn't have to be perhaps the best film that you can put out. Why are you going to bother? You're just going to keep putting out stuff that's kind of half-boiled.
I honestly think Kevin Tsujihara, though, is smart enough that even if this movie makes money and does well, and it has to make a lot of fucking money.
It does.
Okay, especially without China. I think that he is smart enough to know that there is blood in the water, and that there's a fundamental problem with what is going on. Now they did just address it by making Jeff Johns and John, by giving that division to Jeff Johns and John Berg. There's just a lot going on with Greg Silverman, Charles Roven. They had sort of, been keepers of the DC stuff. I don't know if they will heed the lessons of this if it does well.
But it's a dangerous gamble, this thing of putting out films that perhaps are not as good as you think they can be, because Warner Brothers so far have made money. Their films have done well. Batman vs Superman this year, Suicide Squad now going to do well. But if you look at Fox have obviously put out in the last 12 months Fantastic Four, which did not do well. That was a film that even the director said was not the film that should have been put out. It was meddled, lots of fingers in that pie. And then even this year, X-Men Apocalypse, perhaps another of the most disappointing films of the summer, again, is kind of like, it's a film that's put out when it's particularly not where it should be. And then audiences don't go and see it. So if you're Warner Brothers and there's an audience there, that audience might not stick around forever.
Yeah, the Hollywood Reporter article mentioned that Kevin Tsujihara was concerned that BVS, the reception, hurt the brand. And I think, again, even if this movie makes money, the reaction in general is going to hurt the brand, and hopefully steps will be taken to address it.
Yeah.
It's a good question, though. Thanks for calling in.
You.
We're going to move on to the next call.
Thank you.
Hello, who's this? Hello?
I think we lost that one. Let's go to the other one.
Thank you for calling to Meet the Movie Press. You're on with Jeff and Simon.
Yeah, it's Commander Crawl calling from deep space, whatever fucking planet I was on.
Justin Kroll from Variety calling in. What's up, buddy? What's on your mind this morning?
That was a timely name, right? I figured was it Crawl or Cruel?
Commander Crawl, yeah. I thought of you though last night. They were like, the Kralls are invading.
Yeah, I like that one. That's a good Cruel reference. And then How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I think Kate Hudson names Matthew McConaughey's penis Cruel the Warrior King. So got that going for me.
Nice, Krull the Conqueror.
Quick question: did you notice my Captain Marvel tweets updates this earlier?
I
this
did.
Week? I didn't
So
see you retweet them.
I did see it. I guess I should have. I apologize, buddy. So, Justin, tell us what you tweeted for the folks at home who might not be following you. And if you aren't, you really should, because Justin drops a lot of hot scoopage.
Yeah. So you mentioned something on the press last week about maybe Marvel having a director and not wheeling it out, and then you meant you called the Kroll signal. So I was like, I'll make a call. Yeah, don't expect this answer anytime soon.
Are they waiting on a script?
They're writing the script stuff. Well, from my understanding, Marvel's a certain way. You don't come in and read the script. You come in, they tell you what their plan is, and you tell them how you're going to help their world. Okay. So they don't care about the script, but from my understanding, they're not even going to be meeting with any of these. They're looking for a woman director. That's what pretty much people knew. Yeah. I think Boris mentioned a bunch of names that were in the mix, but I don't even think they're going to be meeting with any of those until close to the end of the month. I think I heard the 23rd.
He mentioned the director of White Girl. I think it's Elizabeth Wood.
Jennifer Kent, Nikki Carrillo.
Because I had heard Rebecca Thomas. Because when you have we noticed? And Justin, I don't want to tip my hand here, but we might as well just bring it up. What is going on with the Little Mermaid? I don't know if you're tracking something on that, but it's what is happening with the Little Mermaid and Rebecca Thomas? And is she going to fall off that? Is she going to try to get the Captain Marvel job? I don't know.
I can tell you right now, there's no green light for that. Yeah. So don't see it, expect it anytime soon. They're still trying to do it.
Exactly. So you just have to think Rebecca Thomas is in the mix until she gets caught up making another studio movie. Because I know that she's a hot name as far as female directors go.
She'll probably meet. I think it's 6 or 7 girls that they got it down to.
Women.
And then the decision. I mean, from my understanding, people aren't even going to expect a decision until after Labor Day. So this film's not going till 2017.
We've got some time.
They're not in any rush.
You think we're going to see Captain Marvel before her own movie though? Is she going to be introduced in something else? Maybe Spider-Man?
I'm thinking Avengers 3.
You'll probably have Infinity War.
Oh, Infinity War.
Whatever
that's
the
a good point.
Avenger movie is called. That's my guess.
And while we have you, Justin, because Simon brought this up pre-show, Scarlett Johansson has been spotted in Atlanta.
She has.
Is it possible that she's making her Black Widow is making a cameo in Spider-Man?
I'm sure. I mean,
yeah.
I suppose. I mean, I don't. These
you don't sound very happy about that.
Who goes to Atlanta in the middle of August on their own?
I don't know. Maybe she likes the food down there. I don't know. The contracts are so weird that I don't know, like, how they re-upped. Like, when Downey got his new, like, I didn't know. Like, 'cause Scarlett's, like, done, like, 7 films now. She hasn't had her own, but she's almost up there with Downey with how many movies she's been involved with. So there's a possibility. It makes sense, wouldn't it? If Downey's doing it, she's kind of connected to one or the other.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'm sure there'll be plenty of, like, cameos. They really want to make sure this Spider-Man has plenty of that Marvel world in it, and the best way to do that is introduce characters that you know and love and whatnot.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next call, Justin, just because I can talk to you anytime.
Yeah, right.
But
you guys have I'm seeing Squad on Sunday, and
let us know what you think on next week's show, okay, buddy?
Later, dude.
All right, let's take the next call.
Thanks.
Welcome to Meet the Movie Press. What's on your mind, caller?
Hi guys, it's me, Jonathan again.
Hey.
Hey,
how you doing?
good.
Good. There are three things I wanted both of you to discuss about. 2 Star Trek related, and 1 about the obvious about the Pokemon thing.
Okay.
I know this is sort of like a weird question, but I brought this up a couple shows back, like my pitch for a director of the Pokemon movie.
Okay.
What do you think about Edgar Wright should direct a Pokemon movie?
Edgar Wright.
He would actually. It's actually an interesting idea.
Yeah, no,
he has the right sensibility.
Yeah, why not? I mean, personally, I would like to see what he would do with it. I enjoyed Scott Pilgrim. Again, an overlong but flawed movie, but I did really enjoy it, and I do like his style, and I was on the set of Baby Driver quite recently. I like him as a director. I think that's a good suggestion.
And I like that Baby Driver is a crime movie, right? We would call it that?
Yeah. Heist movie,
and maybe and then like changing gears after that and maybe doing a children's film like
But
a
also he
Pokemon,
brings
so.
music and stuff together,
cool.
a lot of pop culture visuals. I think he's a very dynamic, visually dynamic director.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Good call. What's number 2?
Number 2 is about after Star Trek Beyond. They just announced the 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think should direct the 4th Star Trek movie?
That's actually quite interesting. I'm gonna have a think about that because
Let us get back
Can I
to.
bring out some names?
Sure.
How about the guy who directed The Imitation Game and the upcoming Passengers movie? That guy directed.
Yeah, is he gonna want to go back to space though?
And also Rupert Wyatt.
Rupert Wyatt is a talented guy who's just kind of hanging out there. So I would like to see him get back on the horse. That's a good call.
And the one last thing I got to talk about.
Yep.
Jeff, you kind of reported of a rumor that Justin Lin was going to attach to the Akira movie. Is he still in talks about it?
I did not say that he was going to attach or in talks. I said that Warner Brothers wanted him, and that he was at the top of their list. And whether that's still true or whether he's focusing in on Space Jam 2, which seems to be in the news every week.
Yeah.
There's apparently a lot of anticipation for Space Jam 2, so I
Amongst
guess what
the
I
people who are
thought was
making
a
Space Jam 2.
disposable project that he would walk away from for the right thing. I guess not. No updates on Akira. I'll try to ask around though. Thanks.
Thanks very much. You guys
All
are
right.
the best.
Have a good weekend.
So we're talking about scoops this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, let's talk about the one that you pulled out of the hat this week.
Yeah, I dropped my first scoop at Mashable. That was exciting. Willem Dafoe is going to voice the Shinigami.
Love
Ryuk
Willem Dafoe.
in Death Note. He's kind of perfect for it. He's got that gravelly voice. And even he kind of looks like a Shinigami, honestly.
He was the best thing in John Carter.
But I am reading Death Note right now.
Cool.
It's my first manga.
Okay.
I had to Google how to read mangas because I'm like, what? Where am I looking on this page with the panels and shit? It doesn't make any sense. But I'm about 225 pages in. I really like Death Note, and I love Adam Wingard, obviously. I'll say it for the millionth time. If I had $5 million,
He's made some great fucking
give it
movies.
to Adam Wingard and just let him do whatever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
I'm pumped for Blair Witch. I'm excited about Death Note on Netflix. I like the cast. I like Shea Wiggum. I like Keith Stanfield, Margaret Qualley. So... I'm excited. This is cool news, Willem Dafoe.
I was chuffed when I saw that go online this week.
And so what was interesting is like the story did gangbusters.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because of the story and the fans of the book and the fact that once it hit Asia, once Asia woke up and read the story, it exploded, or if it's the reach of Mashable, which has a huge following. So it'll be interesting because there hasn't been a lot of maybe original reporting on the movie side there, so I'm trying to introduce that, and we'll see how receptive Hollywood is to that, and having scoops break on Mashable. But I'm going to be curious to see, whether it's the site's metrics, and it's all very different from me.
There's a lot
over
in
there.
there, yeah.
It's a change of pace. It's a really algorithm-based site. But yeah, I was excited to break it. And then you had one as well.
Yeah, this is a piece that I did when I was at Comic-Con, actually, but I put it up, put it live this week. I had a really nice chat with Michael Biehn. And his wife. It was about Aliens, obviously 30th anniversary, lots of stuff going on at Comic-Con around that.
And what's he planning for on the horizon?
Well, it's Neil Blomkamp's Alien movie. Obviously, Sigourney Weaver keeps saying that she's involved, and there's questions about whether or not it's happening or not. She seems very confident that it is, and she's on board. Now, there's been a lot of talk about what his involvement would be, because obviously the idea is that you basically forget that 3 and 4 and all the other films have existed, and you then Alien versus Predator, etc.
Right, he hasn't been in an Alien movie for 30 years.
And then you just go back to Aliens and you pick it up from there. And Neil's idea is the fact that ideally he would have Newt, he would have Ripley, and he would have Hicks together. Now, there's talk about him being involved. He actually told me that he is doing it. And he's in. He's in, so you can change the states on IMDb that he is in it. And also the fact that the drawings of the character of Newt, she's about sort of 26, 27 years old, and apparently looks a lot like Jennifer Lawrence. Now,
of course. What do you know?
That would be some great casting, I think, because she hasn't done that kind of thing.
A monster movie.
A monster movie, a sci-fi movie, really, outside of Hunger Games.
She's got Passengers coming up.
Yeah, I think that would be great. So if that does happen, I think that'd be cool. But it's good to know that he is involved as Hicks.
We have 5 more minutes left in the show.
Let's run through a few things.
Let's go back to the Hacksaw Ridge trailer.
Yeah.
That's a cool scoop. Michael Biehn, primed for another Aliens movie. So Hacksaw Ridge also looks amazing. Mel Gibson is with Andrew Garfield as Desmond Doss, a conscientious objector, a soldier who went into war without a gun, and he just saved a bunch of people. Mel Gibson, to me, is a terrific director. He may not like Jews like myself, but I still respect the fact that Braveheart and Apocalypto are tremendous movies. Passion of the Christ is honestly very good too. So I'm very excited for Hacksaw Ridge.
And it's got a lot of cast in it of people who I'm either sort of indifferent towards or who I don't think particularly highly of. Andrew Garfield, I've loved some of his stuff. I've hated some of it. He looks amazing. Sam Worthington, again, I've loved some of his stuff. I've really disliked some of his stuff. He's in it. He looks awesome. And Vince Vaughn, doing serious Vince Vaughn, and I really like the look of that.
Oh, I hear Vince Vaughn is really good in it.
It came together for me as a film.
Bit of a war movie renaissance coming. Dunkirk's not until next July, but the next 12 months could be pretty good for war movies.
Looking very solid.
Now we got to do lightning round because we honestly have a hard out at 10:05. We have 4 minutes left in the show. James Corden voicing Peter Rabbit.
Yes.
Did you grow up reading those books?
I did.
I did too. I love them.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good bit of voice casting. He's a great actor, James Corden.
I really like him. I love the show. I love what he did with Matt Damon. The Bourne thing. You guys should Google that or put it, YouTube that. And then something he did with Shia LaBeouf recently.
Well, he and I, our paths used to cross a lot in the UK when it was him who used to do comedy with for Gavin and Stacey and a show that he had with Matt Horn. And he's a really good guy. I've seen him on stage many, many times. And I've seen a lot of the smaller British films that he's done, or even sort of Begin Again, 2 years ago. He is a great actor. Physically and voice.
I really enjoy him. I think he's possibly the most talented and versatile of all the late night hosts. Yeah. And I got to break the news that he was hosting that show. It's one of my biggest scoops.
Nice
New York
work.
Times followed on that one.
Everybody was surprised by that.
Dirty Rotten Scoundrels is getting a remake with Rebel Wilson.
I saw that.
I'm not a big Dirty Rotten Scoundrels guy. I don't really care. We'll see if this ever gets off the ground because Private Benjamin has struggled as well. It's just, is she a leading lady? Are people going to go to a Rebel Wilson movie, or is she better in support?
She's getting there.
We'll see. Joe Carnahan launching a production company with Frank Grillo.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. I like both those guys. They make gritty man's man movies.
I was going to say, I would be interested to see what kind of projects they do if they are going to kind of take on a lot of the sort of, intelligent action stuff. Yep. I'm up for that.
I still want to see Grillo in the Death Wish remake. I think that'd be so
Grillo.
Cool. Secret Life of Pets is getting a sequel, and so is Fantastic Beasts, although we already kind of knew that. I think it was just about the date.
This was confusing to me because we already know it's having 2 movies, and we knew that it was going to be, we knew the release years, but then suddenly everybody got excited about the fact that David Yates is going to return as director, and it's going to be in November. It's like, well, November was kind of always end of the year rather than summer release was always going to be the thing. But also, I thought we knew that David Yates was going to be directing because I discussed that with him at Comic-Con a couple of weeks ago. So I'm not quite sure what the new news is there.
It's weird what trades and blogs seize on from some of these press releases. And the same thing can sort of be said about the story about Ava DuVernay being the first African-American woman to direct a $100 million movie with A Wrinkle in Time. It's like, well, she left that project at DreamWorks, Intelligent Life, which was a big sci-fi movie, to do this. It's over at Disney, whose tentpoles are usually over $100 million. Like, I just don't know how this was surprising to anyone. I mean, congratulations to her. We love her. We're big fans of her on the show.
Very much so.
And congrats for breaking that ceiling and to Disney for helping her. But at the same time, we kind of knew A Wrinkle in Time wasn't going to be like a $5 million indie.
Yeah.
Mr. Robot star Rami Malek starring in a remake of Papillon, or
Papillon,
however he wants to pronounce it. We don't know how to pronounce it because did you see the original?
Many years ago. He's going to be filling the Dustin Hoffman role. Obviously, a brilliant role by Dustin Hoffman.
Big shoes. Daisy Ridley starring in Chaos Walking.
Yep.
For Doug Liman over at Lionsgate.
We're big fans of hers. But also Flatliners, we know we've been hearing about Kiefer Sutherland has joined what was everybody considering as a bit of a reboot. Apparently it's not going to be a reboot, it's going to be a sequel.
Reboot, sequel, who gives a shit? And finally, we're going to end with Catherine Bigelow's movie about the Detroit riots in 1967, adding her Hurt Locker star Anthony Mackie. It's an awesome reunion. I loved Mackie in that film. It's also going to star Will Poulter from The Revenant and Jack Rayner, who's great in Sing Street, which is now available on iTunes. Check it out. That's going to do it for our show today. You just met the movie press.
Yeah.
Simon, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter at ShowbizSimon, Instagram at ShowbizSimon, and Facebook.com/This is Simon Thompson. You can also see my work on Forbes and IGN and all over the place. And after this, I'm heading off to Reuters.
You can... Oh, okay, fun. Good stuff. You can find my stuff over at Mashable and follow me on Twitter at @TheInSneider. Thank you to the Popcorn Talk Network. Make sure you rate, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff on the YouTube page. Have a great weekend and enjoy, if you can, Suicide Squad.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.